We're gonna build a supreme pizza for the gluten-free.
Gluten-free pizza, brought to you by Urban Slicer.
First, I want to show you how to mix this dough. So you can do it by hand like our other dough mixes, but it's really helpful to have a mixer with the paddle attachment. We're gonna add 1 1/4 cup of water and a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, which is gonna give it some fats in there and help it spread a little more easily. So we're using a paddle instead of the hook because it's gonna whip the mix more than knead it. We'll lower the paddle down into the bowl, lock it. We're gonna slowly add 1 1/4 cups of water. So here we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. It's gonna add some flavor, it's gonna add some elasticity, and it's gonna help hold it together. So now that we have the water and the olive oil in there, we're gonna turn the mixer up. We're about halfway into mixing this, and you can see it's taking on some different characteristics. It's very frosting-like, volume being added because we're whipping it with the paddle. We mixed this for about 8 minutes with the beater. You can see it just whipped that dough. We're gonna get the rest of this mix off the beater into the bowl. If you use a little olive oil, it's helpful here on your beater so it doesn't stick to the dough. I'm gonna pull the beater off. It's very sticky, frosting-like. Once we get it past this resting period though, it's really easy to handle. All right, set that beater aside. We're just gonna take this spatula and scrape the edges of the mixer. Try and form a ball as best we can here. So we're gonna cover this, let it sit for about 30 minutes, and then we'll stretch it out for the final rest. Our gluten-free dough has been sitting here resting. You can see it's grown in size. So now we need to split this into 2 dough balls. So we're just gonna make sure we have plenty of olive oil on our spatula, everything that we're gonna touch so it doesn't stick. And we're just gonna cut this right down the middle. I'm gonna take a little olive oil and just put it down on our parchment and roll it right out onto this parchment. You can see it's more sticky than normal dough, but it's gonna come together nicely. I'm gonna oil my hands up again. And we're just gonna start pressing this out. Want it to be nice and round, and I'm just gonna work it until it's about a 14-inch circle. And you can see, with plenty of oil on my hands, it's not sticking at this point. And once we get this stretched out all the way, we'll let it sit for about an hour just to relax, and then it's gonna be ready to cook. The gluten-free will go through what's called par baking, which is just a partial bake. We're gonna let it sit for another hour so it regains some of that airiness, and we get a little better chew out of it, and also just relax after me manhandling it like this. We're gonna build a supreme pizza for the gluten-free. This is gonna add good flavor, great color. We'll have some basil on here and the red sauce, obviously that'll be great. All right, so our gluten-free crust, you can see we par baked it. It's got some sturdiness to it, definitely some airiness that you don't normally see in a gluten-free crust. We cooked it on a piece of parchment on a pan when we were in the uni earlier. Now we're gonna launch it right onto the stone because the bottom you can see it's really pale still. That's good. So it's literally partially baked. So let's start with our sauce, and we're just gonna do about half a can. Then we're gonna go cheese. Up to you on the amount of cheese, but no matter what cheese you use, I recommend this with every pizza. We want a high fat content cheese. In this case, we're using a whole milk pre-shredded mozzarella. All right, we're gonna go with a little bit of pepperoni. We are gonna do a little bit of raw sausage. It's okay to use raw sausage on a pizza as long as it's gonna bake for a little bit longer period of time and you keep the dollops nice and small. And on this one, I wanna do the basil after it cooks. I just kinda wanna have that bright green on top. After it's cooked, we're just adding a little basil for flavor. Also, we're gonna add a little white mojo.
Matt, when I think gluten-free pizza, this looks like a regular pizza.
That's the whole goal, man. I spent a lot of time, a couple of years actually, trying to develop this formula so it really looked and tasted and felt just like real pizza.
I mean, let's see how it tastes, but you've got me convinced so far. I mean,
Once again,
awesome
though.
cook. I mean,
yeah, got a little bit of flop there.
Yeah,
almost
but look
just
at
like
that.
a real
Look at- I mean-
Neapolitan.
cheers.
Doesn't taste like gluten-free, does it?
You got me fooled.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's
Got
incredible.
The tenderness, the chew.
texture. That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm really proud of this one. Spent a lot of
You
time
should
on
be.
it.
I mean,
it stands out
when you
in the
think of
market.
gluten-free, right? You think of like paper thin, crunchy, like
Yeah.
nothing resembling pizza at all. But
Crumbling,
that is,
fall apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is none of that.
well, if you got anyone that's gluten-free coming over to your pizza party, I mean, keep the flour aside, right? We don't want to do any damage here.
Right,
But
yep.
give it a shot. This is legit. Thanks, Matt. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
See you guys. Dude, legit. Legit.
Thank you.
That's sick.